I was wrong. But not exactly about what you think. I still think 66 is the better format for Overwatch, as it's easier to balance and allows for more heroes to fit into the meta. I still think that DPS passive is overtuned and that this game is not balanced at all right now. But that being said, Season 9 of Overwatch 2, despite all of those balance flaws and everything that we talked about with the format and whatever it may be, this is still the most fun that I've had playing Overwatch in a very, very long time. In today's video, we're going to talk about what I was wrong about, why this patch has actually worked to some degree, and where the game can go from here. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. You guys know how we do it here. We tell the truth and what we believe to be the truth, regardless of what we feel, how we think, the sentiment. We stand our ground and we speak our mind no matter what. So let's speak some facts today. There are a couple big lessons to learn with how Season 9 of Overwatch 2 has gone. Let's start out with playing with friends. This is something that really you guys have all been able to do for years, but as streamers and high-level players, we have not been able to stack with our friends in the competitive ladder for years, mostly because a lot of one-tricks, and I'll admit it, I know who it was. It was a lot of Mercy one-tricks were complaining, and I'm just not going to beat around the bush here, that stacking was too oppressive, and a couple Delulu pros who, maybe if stacking was around to get players more invested, the league could have done a little bit better. Who knows, right? A lot of conjecture on that part, but what's beautiful about Overwatch is playing it with your friends, because it's a team-based game, and being able to control your experiences, have people and familiar faces that you know and love that are willing to put in the effort level that you do into a ranked game makes that game so much more fun and so much better for everyone in the party. My experience with this system at being able to stack is always so much better, and I get to see these little micro communities come up, and regardless of the state of the game or regardless of the state of a lot of different things, if you do it with your friends, that's what makes it special. And Season 9 has really captured that from a stacking perspective, and I gotta say, it's been awesome to play with my friends again, and I find myself wanting to play more and more because I get to do it with the people that I actually give a shit about, which you don't really... That feeling wasn't really there previously, at least in the high-level play as a streamer. Now, moving on to an experience and stuff that really hits it home for most of you guys. The rank system is so much better. The first rank system was an obvious downgrade, and this is the first time that I can safely say that a system was upgraded going into Overwatch 2. Now, unfortunately, that took 9 seasons, but you can't really blame Team 4 for that. We're going to blame Activision management because they had them scattered all over the place. And this is really the first big step forward from a format and system perspective that Overwatch 2 has taken. And it feels so great to actually see your competitive progress because, again, it felt like the previous competitive system was designed for players who didn't want to play competitive. It wasn't meant for a competitive player, as the competitive system should not be. If you're going to make a competitive system, it needs to be designed for players who actually want to be competitive. Guys like me, guys who... People like you all probably watch my stream because I'm one of the more competitive players out there. I'm actually able to put heart into the game again and feel rewarded when I do it because I have a group of guys behind me trying to win and wanting to do their best thing. And the reality is, especially in Overwatch 2, when you get that one thrower, it's much harder to win the game. And I have a little saying in ranked is you need to match the effort levels of your teammates if you want to stay sane. But when you can actually control how many people are your teammates going into the game, you have much better control over your experience. And that reward is really, really fun because guess what? Getting rolled by stacks, that can suck. I know it can suck. But you know what? Just because getting rolled by a stack every 1 in 10 games, maybe more than that, sucks, it sucks even more when every game sucks because there's always one kid who's not trying. You got to encourage people to try in the competitive mode. And while both systems have their flaws, it's undoubtedly better when this game is played as a team. And they really did a great job of capturing that. So big shout out to Gavin at Blizzard. We can tell that you put a lot of effort into this system, and you should be pretty goddamn proud of how it turned out, man. Just a slow round of applause. Team 4 should be thrilled. They really should be thrilled. And now let's talk about the patch. And this is where this gets interesting, right? A lot of the things I said about the patch still stand true. The game is absolutely not balanced right now. In fact, I think it's time to accept, especially when the game is going to stay in 5v5, It will never be balanced. It's impossible to balance it in a fun way, but this is where the fun comes in, because part of it is science and the other part is art. This channel, and myself in particular, we focus on the science, the nitty-gritty. That's why you guys watch me. You come here to learn things about the game that you will not learn from any other streamer that has not played in the Overwatch League, because that's what we do. We teach you guys the game and we talk about the science of the game. Spilo does a great job of it too. Big shout out to Spilo. He's a great guy. But you come here for the science. What this patch was art. And I admit it wholeheartedly. Now, is there a lot of work to be done still? Yes. The projectiles are way too big. Way too big. And they need to get tuned down, right? But the important takeaway is this. Regardless of the game balance, regardless of what heroes are shuffled in and out of the meta, Overwatch is a better game when the supports can't override what tanks and DPS do. It is that simple. It is night and day. It is irrefutable. And every video that we've made on this channel talking about how broken and obnoxious the support role has been proven true today. You cannot have supports override everything people do in the game, Blizzard. You cannot do it. And this pack shows it. Now, are supports too bad right now? Are they bad? Yes, and they need to get tuned up and they need to get balanced properly. But what this experiment proved is that the world loves Overwatch when you can actually kill shit and there's not a brain-dead hero denying all the value you can get, as we have said for years on this channel. Years. We haven't sugarcoated it. We have said it how it is, and the proof is in the pudding. Regardless of how out of whack the balance is right now, there's a fundamental truth about the game. Playmaking is more fun than play denial. Stop designing heroes that are designed to deny things. Stop designing characters in general that are all about denial. Focus on the enable. Focus on the teamwork. If you try to make everyone special, no one is, right? And that's what they got to take from this, man. So many of these support characters that came out for years were all about denial, denial, denial. But what made Overwatch such a beautiful game was setting up strategies and teamwork and executing on big plays as a team and making things happen, not denying things. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to play a game that's about denial. They want to have the big pop-off moments. And because the DPS passive is so strong, right, which it definitely needs to get nerfed, and the hitbox has got buffed so much, Zen and Lucio can output so much more damage that the MOs just aren't as valuable right now than they were previously. And that's the Band-Aid that got ripped off here. The fact that the MOs aren't the biggest playmakers right now. Like Zen, now again, it took power creep to this scale to make it happen, which just goes to show you how powerful healing and those, particularly those sustainabilities were, right? But the game is fun when things die and you execute together to make it happen. That is the big takeaway from this patch that Blizzard can learn. Now, let me say this, okay? To all the people saying that, like, this patch has saved Overwatch in the long term. No, it hasn't. It's brought people back to the game, which has never really been Overwatch's issue. The issue is maintaining them and maintaining fair play and maintaining this style of game where things die and you actually have to go make plays to kill things. And the game feels so much better that way. The art side of this update is carrying, turning heads, and doing what needs to be done. So regardless of whether or not you like this patch, regardless of whether or not you think the science of it is correct, you have to tip the hat and acknowledge the art aspect of game design accomplished so much here. And listen, if I can admit that, you guys at home can too. Now, let's not jump the gun. Not every hero got tuned properly. A lot of my heroes are pretty bad. But the big takeaway that you can take from this is that the game plays better when it's like this. It is more fun when it is like this. There's more playmaking when it is like this. There's more investment from players when it's like this, and you actually feel rewarded. Now, I would have liked to have seen all had this game been in 6v6, God, I'd give my left leg to play this style of game in 6v6 because there'd be more setups, more playmaking opportunities. It would be arguably the best patch of all time for Overwatch, I think. I do. I think if the game was in 6v6, it would be better than October of 2020 for me. I do. But it's not, sadly. So, does it solve Overwatch 2's problems from a balance standpoint? No. Because the main issues that Overwatch 2 caused outside of the new rank system, like the counter swapping is still a thing. Like the better heroes now, the gap between the bad heroes and the great heroes got a lot bigger here on this patch, in my opinion. And that's something you do want to avoid from a balance standpoint. But man, if we just have to accept the fact the game will never be balanced, I'd rather them do wacky shit like this 24/7 and make sure that support is not overwhelming every ounce of damage in the game, and the game would feel so much better, man. The fundamentals are there, and that's what's key. So look, 6v6 would let this happen better still. I'm still on the 6v6 train. You did not solve tank counter swapping, right? You did not solve flavor of the month. Those are all new problems caused by 5v5 that the only way to solve in 5v5 would be to go to open queue, which could be a massive power play, by the way. That could be the ultimate casual power play, to go to open queue and just reduce those queue times even more and just say, screw it. Go stack with your friends. We're going to make this game the Wild Wild West, because that's kind of what Overwatch was when it came out. It was the Wild Wild West. You could pick any comp, do anything, and get silly with your friends. And that might be Overwatch's niche. And if that's the case, it's time for us to accept that, right? Because we've tried a lot of different things with roll queue. We've tried a lot of different things, and I'm not sold that it would work. I'm not saying guaranteed they should do this, but if you're committed to 5v5, peak Overwatch in 5v5 is in open queue, not in roll queue. For the main reason, you can't actually make each roles more powerful. This is the first time that we've gone full circle in Overwatch 2, where when the game was first in betas, what was the most powerful role? DPS. Supports complained that DPS were too powerful. So what did the devs do? Buff the wazoo out of support over time. Every support got major buffs. You know, the roles cannot be evenly balanced in Overwatch because they had to buff every support. And what did that do to DPS? It made it obsolete, right? It made tank feel miserable to play because nothing ever died. In 6v6, when there's 2-2-2, like, it's easier to balance how strong each role is compared to the other because they each have an equal amount of them on the floor, right? Or in the game. But now the tanks have to be 1.5 versions of themselves, and that other half piece of power has to either go to the support role or the DPS role. Balancing those out evenly is so much harder in this format because of that, because now that extra power has swayed from the support back to the DPS. So half the fan favorite support heroes like Mercy and Ana are just getting bullied right now. And those are the two highest pick rate supports, and they are horrible. Like, I tried playing Ana, it felt terrible. If you're playing anything other than Lucio or Zen, like, it's so hard to play. And it's just, the support experience definitely got diminished. So I do feel you support players, but there's an important lesson to learn here. We've now gone full circle on 5v5, okay? It's not balanceable. 5v5 as a format is not balanceable. So if we're going to stick in 5v5, let's do crazy patches like this. Let's do it. I admit it. I was wrong about... Now, the hitboxes are too big. The concept is good. The actual means to how they do it needs to be better. It has to be better. And I think I'm willing to give them a chance to try to tweak this stuff. Like, Ashe is too easy to hit headshots on. Like, Hanzo just feels super gimmicky. Like, I'd rather Hanzo kind of be... a lot of niche heroes that need to... But the core fundamentals of what this patch is trying to achieve for Overwatch and making it silly, making it April Fool's-y, doing stuff like that. As long as you let us play with our friends with systems that are actually upgraded, it can work. And I didn't think this patch would work at all. And mostly because I was too focused on the science and not the art. And the art of this, you have to tip the hat and give it to them. Now, I'm not saying the job's finished. I'm not trying to say this is the best. This is probably one of the worst balance patches out there if you look at, like, the gap between these characters. Again, and I really want to emphasize that. They have to fix that. But you know what? You got to take the perception at face value and say it for what it is. I think this is a fun patch, unless you play support. If you are an old DPS player that enjoyed playing Overwatch, is this going to be better than the best 6v6 patch you ever played? Probably not. Because, again, there's still a lot more counter swapping. If you just want to come on and play one hero, it's not the right answer for you. But the big takeaway, and I cannot stress this enough, is what parts of Overwatch make it fun. Playing with your friends and having supports not override everything DPS heroes do. That's the takeaway. There are much better means to this. I think 6v6 accomplishes it better, but I will say the doom and gloom coming into Season 9 about this patch, I think was not accurately stated for how it played. I think my points were all right, but the big conclusion was only taking one piece of the puzzle and not the bigger piece of the whole picture. And that's important to acknowledge because I know that's my shortcoming. I'm a logos thinker. I'm logic, right? But there's a lot of different types of thinking. There's emotional thinking. There's ethos, pathos, and logos. All you philosophy people in the comments, be sure to let me... I forget what ethos and somebody define those for me, please, in the comments. But yeah, I was wrong about some of the stuff that I said for how the outcome would be. This season's been a lot of fun. I'm really happy to see Team 4 get a positive feedback, and all it took was fixing the rank system and getting back stacking, and that really is a big part of it. But this kind of wacky stuff is more of what Overwatch needs to carve out its own niche. I've kind of realized that as well. It's if you're gonna stick in 5v5, it will never be balanced. Get wacky, get fun, and sorry, support players, but I'm going to enjoy my time as a DPS player and finally get to play the role that I wanted to play in the game for years, but, you know, I had to play support to play the broken role. So, thank you guys for watching. What do you think about this season down below? Again, it's not balanced. I'm not trying to say it's balanced. It's definitely not, but it is fun. So, when it's fun, and that's what gaming's for. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you all next time. Peace out.